I can see it. It's moving pretty good through the sagebrush. And I'm getting a little bit nervous. I can't hold the gun still. And I'm not,
Oh,
I don't
really?
shake. You can see it breathing. You see the tongue and everything breathing. And I said, this thing is a monster. If I got to shoot it, I don't think I got a big enough gun. If this thing wanted to jump on you, I don't think there's a lot I could have done. Put it to you like this. Nobody's ready for this. Nobody is.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Monster 911. If you're new to the channel, my name's Lance. I travel, interview, and investigate all across America, exposing the truth and giving a voice to courageous eyewitnesses who have experienced the unimaginable, the existence of paranormal entities, creatures that are very much alive in isolated areas across the U.S. Today's show is a special show because it involves a dear friend of mine. Back when the show was Cryptid Brothers Investigations of Oklahoma, we used to call this guy our adopted brother, and his name is Wiley Dave Fritts. Wiley and I have known each other since 2017 when we first started the channel, and we've just hit it off and we became good friends and hunting companions ever since. I thought I knew a lot about how to hunt predators and call predators until I met Wiley Dave. Wiley is one of the best. He's won several awards in predator calling. Wiley was hired professionally to eliminate predators by ranchers and farmers because it would kill their livestock, and that was their way to make a living and provide for their family. In addition to that, he's won several awards in predator calling. He had his own predator call company with him and his dad. Wiley, by trade, is a welder and a very, very talented musician, and he's kind of a fabricator, engineer, you could say. There's about nothing Wiley can't do. If he says he can do it, you can bet the bank he can do it. But this story revolves around more what happened to him while he was by himself in 2013. What he thought was going to be a usual, typical hunt in Western Oklahoma at a place that he's hunted many, many times before. At this particular stand that he went to hunt, everything changed in an instant. His life was changed when he saw what we would call a dogman. If you don't mind, before we get into the dogman encounter that you had, and tell me a little bit about your background, if you would. A lot of people want to know about your background and how you got coyote calling, but where did you start from there, and with your dad, working with your dad as a welder, and then moving your way up to the caller, the predator callers, and then shooting and all that?
Okay. Well, I mean, like all of us when we were kids, we're kind of exploring around kind of what we want to do and what our interests are, what we're getting into. My dad was a tool and die maker and a machinist, and he worked at American Airlines. And uh, he used to even be an instructor at Tulsa Boys Home. He would go down there with some other guys at night, and he would donate time, to help those guys learn how to run a machine and stuff. And so they could, guys that have been in trouble, get their stuff back on track in their life. So I would go down there with Dad when I was a little kid, and I'd hang out down there and watch these guys. And so Dad's buddy, Bill, he was a welder there. And that's where I first saw welding. I thought that was the coolest thing, watch Bill go around that pipe with that rod. I thought, man, I want to learn how to do that, So Dad taught me to machine, and he taught me, to be a machinist and build fixtures and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to be a welder, so I wasn't old enough to get in. They had a school at American Airlines out there where Dad worked, and so he knew the instructors and everything. So he pulled a few strings, got me in there. Well, when I went in there, just like everybody else, I didn't know nothing about it, and so I went in there and just sat down there, and they showed me what to do, and I took off, and I was just a natural at it. I just got good really fast. And so, but people don't realize that that's not like a regular welding school. I mean, you're going in there, the guys that are working there have done everything out there. And most of them are really good welders when they go in, and they get even better once they're in there, and then they learn all this aircraft stuff. They got more tricks than the law allows, and so you just it's a large pool of knowledge to pull from, all these different welders and instructors and stuff, and every one of them knows something different. You can learn all that. And so I did, I picked their brain, learned everything I could learn, and just all kinds of stuff. And I learned to weld the machines that most people don't even know exist. Most people ain't even heard of an EB welder. They don't even know what it is. And it's electron beam. It's like an early form of laser welding. Is what it is. Works off a cathode inside of a pressurized chamber.
Oh, wow.
And American used them to weld the half moon segments in their blades and everything. Those titanium blades out there, they put a patch in there, and they weld it in, and the machine comes along there, and they grind it back out, and it makes where the airfoil and stuff, it makes the blade new again,
Okay.
They x-ray and stuff to learn how to do all that. And so plasma welding, and most people know about plasma cutting, but a lot of them haven't seen plasma welding, so that's another different deal, and then metal spray, and it just goes on and on. And so I mean, I had all that stuff, the very best equipment money could buy, and the very best pool of knowledge. So if you were wanting to be good at it, that's where you go. And not everybody can do that, but I was fortunate enough to be one of the ones that did. So after I went through that school, I stayed in there through high school, and started when I was 13. And then after I got through all that stuff, they asked me to run it. I mean, my instructor was going to retire. He said, "Man, why don't you just help me take this over, and you just do it." So that's what I did for about 4 years. And I mean, it was a good deal, because I learned everything you could know about an aircraft engine. Everything you could know. I mean, how to take them apart, how to put it back together, what part did this, what part did that. I knew all the A&P mechanics, all the inspectors, the engine tear down, engine build up. I knew all the guys, So when when you learn that, you become a professional. I mean, basically one of the big guys at the base out there said, I used to have to go to these meetings called a 480 meeting, and I had this kind of like the stockholders of American Airlines. And they would come in, and so they would ask us, they was really big into the school thing, and they wanted to know, how's that thing going, And so, Abe Hale, he ran the plant at that time. He told me, he said, he introduced me one night. He said, "This is Dave Fritts. He's our instructor up here." He said, "We probably got, I couldn't tell you how much money we got invested in this young man." He said, "But I can tell you one thing." He said, "He is the best welder in this plant." He said, "He has come up with more ways to do stuff." And he said, "He's done a lot of different things, so they let me talk." And I said, "Well, I appreciate what Ed's saying, but," I said, "all these old guys out there that everybody thinks, once you get older, you don't know nothing, or you don't have any idea. There's no way. You just don't have no idea what those people know. If you sit down and take the time to talk to them, it'll blow your mind." But, as far as the welding end of it, Dad, he pushed me to do anything I wanted to do. I mean, if he could see I was going to be good at it, he would just help me all he could, and I was fortunate to have a dad like that. And I mean, I lost him some years back, and I wish I had him back, because it was just, you don't know what it's like when they're gone. And my stepsister Sarah goes, Dad told her one time, he said, "Well, David doesn't need me to be there for him. He can do this by himself." He does. But it's just the moral support, I guess.
Sure.
And even the guys that work for me in my shop, when Dad passed away, they said, "Man, it ain't going to be the same no more, not having your dad here with us." And we built power plants. We go out and install turbines for GE. I did a lot of work for Bechtel, and
You and your dad did that?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had my own company. I ran a crew of 60 guys. But doing that, I was the welding took me all kinds of places. You just wouldn't believe some of the jobs I got. I mean, I did a lot of stuff for the military, undercover stuff, and it's one of those kind of deals where I guess they call it a black project. They don't want nobody knowing about it. They give you a package of stuff to do, and you do it, and then you give it back to a certain person. Nobody else knows about what's going on.
Tell me a little bit about the call making and predator calling. And I guess before we get into that, I've always known you as Wiley, but it's really Wiley from Wiley Coyote. And how did you get the name? And tell me about the call making you and with your dad.
Well, when I was a kid, I got into this coyote game. I was reading about it in a magazine, and I was like 12 years old, and Dad would get all these hunting books to the house all the time. I mean, if it was a hunting magazine, he had it. They were stacked up around there. My mom would ask me, say, "What are you going to do with all these magazines around here?" And so Dad would take them out to the shop and put them out there and let people have them, and stuff. But we kept a lot of them around there that had good articles that we wanted to keep. But I got into that game. I was even writing magazine articles for a lot of these gun books that I was reading them when I was a kid. And after you do so many things, you get asked to do other things. So I explored that a little bit, got pretty successful writing magazine articles. But I got into that by reading those articles, and I thought, man, that'd be so cool to just go out there and make a sound and watch the animals come in,
Mm-hmm.
So the first experience I really had was seeing a film of it was a guy named Johnny Stewart. And Johnny would go out with his son out in the middle of the desert. They lived down in South Texas, which is varmint capital of the world,
Oh, yeah.
And they go down there, and he made these recordings in a recording studio. Of course, back then they killed rabbits and stuff and recorded them. And today, if we did that, they'd fry us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you'd be the one making the noise, they'd string you up. But Gerald, I didn't get the chance to meet Johnny. He passed away before I got hooked up with the company. But I was at the SHOT Show, and I ran into Gerald Stewart there, and me and him just kind of hit it off together. And Gerald's a real nice guy. He's a real good guy, and his mother was there, and she was a real nice lady too, So me and Gerald kind of hit it off. He knew I'd done several things in the call business, so he asked me to help him with a coyote howler, which is a tube that we use to bark at coyotes and talk to them. And so I built that for him. And back then they used a record player, believe it or not. It was a record player. I've got some of those over there in my little cabinet that I keep collectibles in. It's got different ones. You know, there was Johnny's the one that started this. I don't care what anybody says, there was two people, and it was him and Murray Burnham. And those two were the real big varmint callers at that time. Well, they made these records, they had them made. And they come in a little record player, you know, and can you imagine toting all out there with all these batteries?
So literally you would go take the record player
set
out.
a record player out there and they'd shoot. Yeah, that record player's going around. Here they are shooting crows out of trees and stuff. Yeah, there's rabbits squealing, foxes barking and stuff. And
incredible.
So it went from the record player to the tape deck. So then it was the cassette tape.
Okay.
And so they made just all kinds of tapes. So, you know, when I met Gerald, he showed me how all that worked and stuff. So that's how I kind of got into that part of it. But I never was really that big into the electronics because my forte was the mouth calls because I was good at tuning them. I called my first coyote when I was 13 years old. I was on my grandpa's farm, and I had this call, and it was made by Wayne Wings. It's called a Wings Wild Call, and I think everybody in the country had one. They had one of them. They had one of Johnny Stewart's calls. They had one of Murray Burnham's calls. So if you have those three guys' calls, you're going to see something.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I went over there in Briar Patch, and I remember it was mist and rain. It's kind of cold. It was in about 1st of November. And I called the coyote in. And he'd come in, but I didn't get to shoot at him. He smelled me. Of course, you learn as you go, you know.
Right.
So I went over there and I walked in my grandma's house, and my dad sitting there on the couch. And he goes, "Let's hear it." He knew something had happened, you know.
Okay.
"What'd you see, boy?" I said, "Well, I called one in." He goes, "You got one, huh?" I said, "No." Called him in, but he didn't come close enough because I was hunting with a shotgun. Once you learn to call, then you got to learn how to sneak up on them and get in there with that. You got to learn to get on the stand without them knowing you're there. Is the deal, and that's another art in itself, you know. But the calling part of it, once you're gonna know once you do that and you see you can do it, you'll get you're gonna be hooked. It's worse than cocaine. I'm not kidding you. I had calls laying everywhere. If they made one, I had it, and so my mom used to say, "Look at this place. It looks like a sporting goods store in here." You know, calls are everywhere.
Right.
Bows, archery equipment, rifles, you know, all this stuff. And so I was ate up with it. I was camouflaged all over the place. And so I was calling these coyotes, and I kind of messed with the reeds a little bit and stuff. So I met this guy, and his name is Bill Harper. And he owned a call company called Loman, and they were up here in Neosho, Missouri. And of course, he was friends with Jim Doherty and these guys. And well, Jim Doherty, he's the real famous bow hunter. But Jim taught me a lot about calling. Jim was a great caller himself, and he taught me some things. I mean, I had a lot of good teachers along as I went, you know. But you remember I was talking about the welding. You learn something from each one of these guys. Each one of them got a technique. Each one of them got something he does different. Well, you pile that in the toolbox. You remember all that stuff. You know, and once you do that, then you can start building on how you want your stuff to go or how you want to be. You can draw for this, draw for that. I use some of them things when I'm testing stuff or just a sound chip that I've made for people. And so I got in when I started calling for Bill Harper. I had all these calls, and he was sending me just boxes of stuff. Anything I wanted, I could pick up the phone and he'd just send it, you know. And so I just have those sound tubes everywhere around there. The barrels and calls, so I started changing them in and out, and I was making different sounds, experimenting with frequency levels and stuff, and changing them around. So I knew I was getting close to something really good, but I was calling these coyotes in, and just about had to beat them off with a tennis racket. So I told my dad, I said, I've been doing this for about a year now for them. You know, he said, "Yeah, you stole Loman a lot of stuff." He said, "You stole a lot of stuff for them." And he said, "Maybe I'll think about making our own stuff." I said, "Well, you think I'm ready for that?" He said, "The only way you're going to know is if you do it."
That's right.
You know, so I started, Dad bought a mill and a lathe. And so I had my shop over there. I was already doing military work. This is back during the first Gulf War.
Okay.
And I'd been working as an inspector and running that skill at Tulsa Gamma Ray for me, a welding skill. So when the war started, I got a contract with Purelator making these special parts for them, and I had to do 500 a week. So I'd go in at I'd go in at 2 in the morning, and I'd weld till about 6 o'clock or 7, and I'd get off of that and let's start working on my stuff. And so Dad would come down. He was working nights at American, and he'd come down during the morning and help me. And we started developing these calls. I was reading in Trapper and Predator Caller magazine in there, and it said it was a regional calling contest. They're going to have it up here at Winfield, Kansas.
Okay.
So I'm looking in there, and it's just categories, And this girl I was married to at the time, she's watching me at the table. So I fill out the professional division. She goes, "Oh, you always got to be the big shot. You always got to try to be up there. You're going to jump out there and try to win it, aren't you?" I said, "If I don't go out there and call against these guys, how am I going to know what my competition is?
That's right.
How am I going to know how I stack up against them? They may smoke me, but at least I'm going to know what I need to do to get there."
Right, exactly.
So I said, me being an amateur is not going to prove nothing. I'm way past that field already. You know where you are in life.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a professional gig like this,
Right, right.
And it's not about bragging or being the big hit or anything else, but it's where you got to know you're at that point where you got to make the jump if you're going to be successful. So she goes, "Okay." So we go up there, and I get in the contest, and this is the contest where the judges, they don't know who you are.
All right.
You're calling strictly by sound. They can't see you. You're calling by sound.
So it's a blind.
Right. So so you're calling, and you go through your technique, and then they score you on certain things. Like how the rabbit sounds, or how the duration of the call sounds, the frequency, the style. Bark like a coyote, do all this different stuff. Well, there was like 30 guys in that, so I got third.
Wow.
The first time. So
wow.
I went up there and got my trophy and everything, and my wife goes, "Well," he goes, "I don't know if I can get your head in the truck going home." I said, "Will you stop?" She goes, "I can't believe you got third." She goes, "I guess I stand corrected. You're better than I thought you was." And so a guy walked up to my table and he looked at me and he goes, "Boy," that's what he called me, "Boy, you know who I am?" I said, "Yeah, I know who you are." He goes, his name is Willis Kent. He's from Montana.
Okay.
He was a big government hunter, and he's a real good caller. He wrote magazines, and he was a guy I kind of looked up to. I mean,
sure,
he knew his business. He said, "I need to tell you something." I said, "What's that, Mr. Kent?" He said, "I've been near and far in this business," and he said, I've been all over judging these contests and stuff." And he said, "I ain't never heard a better sounding jackrabbit than you." He said, "Damn it, boy, I was looking for a coyote come running down that aisle." He said, "I was looking around, He said, "You sounded damn good up there." I said, "Well, I appreciate that." He said, "Nobody knew who you was." He said, "You need to work on your howling a little bit. Once you get that down," he said, "they won't be able to touch you." That's what he told me.
Wow.
So that's what I worked on.
With that being said, that kind of segues into the calls that you and your dad made. It just wasn't a simple read call. You really got technical into you had the oscillator, which measures the sound waves, and you got really detailed in making these calls. And then talk about the accident call.
Well, what I did was you learn how to tweak these reads and stuff. Everybody's got their own style, how they do it, and different guys, everybody tunes them a little different, how they tune them. But now some guys they'll just take a reed, stick it in there, and that's it. That's what you get. Okay, but my calls were hand tuned. I checked every one on a scope. I checked it on a meter where I knew the highs and the lows of how the call sounded, so it would like a real rabbit. And that's why everybody said, that my stuff was more successful, I think. I went out there in 92, I got an invitation to go out there and hunt. And it was a world championship. And this is where you're calling coyotes and shooting them. And you have to get a number of coyotes to win, there's rules apply. You know, you can't shoot at night. Back then, you couldn't shoot at night or anything. So, me and my partner, Ralph Ballantyne, we got the big idea we was going to go out there and win it. So we had just up at the gun show. He goes, "That's what these guys all call me boy because I'm younger than them. Boy, we need to go out there and win that." That's what Ralph would say. I'd say, "You think we can?" "I don't think nothing. I know we can." So we go out there and we won it.
Did you really?
Yeah. 92 was the world champion. So over there, you know, and that's where I made that long shot, that 725-yard shot on that coyote across that valley.
725 yard?
Yeah. It was offhand. It was no shooting sticks.
Was that a record?
Yeah, it was done with a shooting Marine Corps style off your knees, you know.
Oh,
Just sitting down like, that's how I used to shoot before I hurt my back. I never carried shooting sticks. I shot off my knees, sitting on my butt and put my knees, you know, like that and just offhand them. That's how I did it.
What's surprising, when I first started going with you, you said that, you know, when you're in an area and you start calling wrong or you have a poor audio system, electronic, and you're calling electronically or mouth call, doesn't matter. And if you start calling wrong and they smell you and they see you, they'll remember that sound.
Oh, yeah.
And they won't be coming next time. And I never thought about that until I met you. I
would kill these smart coyotes. And some of them were getting pretty big. I mean, them coyotes didn't get big by being stupid.
Right.
And I was killing some that went in the 60-pound range. And some of the game wardens and stuff had never even seen a coyote that big, you know. And I would kill these big old coyotes, you know, and them guys say, "Were you hunting at the zoo?" You know? And I said, "No, I just go out there and, you know, a lot of these coyotes they're old ones. I mean, their teeth worn down, their muzzle's gray. They've been alive for a while, you know."
Yeah.
So that means they've avoided. In the old days, they chased them with airplanes. You remember? Was you around here during that time?
No.
Well, they stopped it because so many guys got killed doing it.
Oh.
The pilot and them got to watching the coyotes instead of watching when they was flying to the ground or flying to some highline wires and some stuff like that, you know, kill somebody. And so it made it to where it was illegal. You couldn't do it no more. But the thing of it was, I had this photographer with me, and so his name was Charlie Smith, and he was from Guns and Ammo magazine. And he went with me and a couple other guys. Well, they got to talking at the SHOT Show, and you know, and I'd already been called that before, but they're the ones that made it stick. Because everywhere we went, they would call me David. They do like you do. They call me Wiley, you know.
Yeah.
And so it just stuck, and I mean, it was just that was my name from when I was about 14 or 15 years old, because I had those coyotes. Everybody said, "There's a Wiley Coyote." That's what they call me, you know, when I was a kid. And so it stuck, and then I was Wiley Coyote Man. All my tools got coyotes drawn on them and everything. They know if that coyote's on there, it belongs to me, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, but anybody. I used to say in the magazine articles, anybody can call a coyote with my calls. Little kids did it. I was telling to a kid at the gun show, his mom and dad buying him a call. He come back the next morning, here's this kid holding a picture of a coyote that he shot that night with his dad.
Wow.
He goes, "Them damn things work. Give me 2 more of them," you know. And so, yeah, so they'd buy them up, you know. And so this call was invented by my dad, actually. So Dad was machining some parts, and so this little piece fell on the floor, and he over-drilled it and it had a hole in there. And I thought, man, I wonder what that would sound like if I put that reed in there and just hit it. So I put one reed in there, and I didn't like how it sounded, so I had a different type of reed. It was a steel reed. I put a Mylar reed in there with a little keeper on there instead of it. And boy, I hit that sound, and Dad turned around, he stopped and looked, he goes, "What the hell's that?" I said, "That's that piece you throw to the floor." "Boy, that sounds good." I said, "Yeah, it sounds good." I said, "It sounds too good." I said, "We might be on to something here." So I said, "Hey, do another one. Cut me 3 more." And I said, "Make it this length." And I said, "Just a little more chamfer where I can push the reed down there just a little bit farther." So I had Dad build me 3. I put them together. And I called Bird, and I told him, I said, "Hey, we need to go hunting tonight." He said, "Well, Angela," I said, "No, you tell Angela she's on hold. We're going hunting tonight." That's it. I got a new call. You need to see it work. So he goes, "Okay." So he meets me over here, and we get in the truck, and we drive up Osage County. Every time we blew the thing, we about had to beat them off the truck with a ball bat. I'm not kidding you, man. We was in my Jeep. We had the top off. It was in the summertime. Raccoons trying to crawl up the tire and get in the truck. I mean, we had coyotes. Just there was bobcats walked right into the Jeep. I mean, you couldn't.
That's incredible.
It's unbelievable. It just works too good. And well, this thing. What messed me up about the whole deal was, I mean, I've been, as long as I've been doing this, I never heard of a DOGMAN. I didn't know what it was or anything. And so it was 2013, and I was getting ready to have knee surgery, And so my buddy Rocky, he said, "Man, are you going to go deer hunting?" I said, "No," I said, "I don't think so, because it's hard for me to get my stand with my knee like it is." I said, "It's hard for me to get up in there, and then when I get up in there, after I got to wrench that knee around and stuff, I'm hurting so bad I don't want to stay in the stand. So there ain't no need of me just going up there in 10 minutes and climbing back down. I'm just going to end up messing it up."
Right.
So I said, "I'm just going to go. It's getting cold enough now, so I'm just going to go coyote call."
Right.
Go call him. He goes, "Well, where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to go out west." He goes, "How far out west?" I said, "Way out west." He goes, "Good luck." He now hunts out there. So, anyway, he after his big putting counter, so he hunted down there at Honolulu where we was hunting.
Oh,
at.
yeah.
So all he did was trade. He just traded families. Is all he did. And so anyway, I told him I'm gonna go hunt. He said, "All right, well, be careful, because I can't never get nobody to go with me, man. It's after I lost Dennis, everybody was afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, oh yeah, I'll go. I ain't scared of anything. I'll go. When it comes time to put them in there, well, you're gonna be sitting there looking at your watch and twiddling your tongue because they ain't gonna show.
Right.
So I just get in the truck and go by myself and not worry about it. And so I'll take off for Western Oklahoma and drive off through the night out there, leave at 2 in the morning, get out there about daylight. So what I was doing is I was taking a bunch of photographs for new magazine articles and stuff I was writing. Because after a while, people that read these things and look at publications, if you see a photograph, you remember it.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen. I saw that picture before. You can turn around left-handed, they still know it's the same picture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So these are new photographs. So I go calling, and I call in that morning. I'm running my route, and I call, I don't know, 12 coyotes, I guess. And a couple of them are really big, nice ones,
Right.
So I said, "Well, I'll come back and visit you later on," So I went to this part of the ranch, and I got some pump jacks around there and stuff. So the sun was shining, so I just got over there and I had my truck. I just kind of put it in the sun there, and I was just sitting there listening to the radio, and I ate a sandwich and messing around waiting for the sun to get over far enough where I could make my evening stand.
Right. Right.
And what you want to do is when you do that, you want to put the sun try to put the sun in the predator's eyes. If you try to keep that sun pointed where it's your advantage and his disadvantage.
Right.
So that any movements, they can't really make you out.
Okay.
So I took off and I called about 6 stands. I had a couple of dry holes. I called a couple more, and I got a bobcat on one stand. And I got a couple more coyotes. So I took a picture of the cat, and I got a picture of the coyote. So it's getting long about now, down to about the last 2 hours of the hunt. So I thought, well, this one spot that I've hunted for a long time, me and Dennis used to hunt there, always produced some really big coyotes. So I said, I'm going to take the gun this time because I might be able to smoke a good one. So.
Now, which gun did you take at that time?
I have the DPMS, this one right here. It's
223?
Yeah, 223 or 5.56. Well, like some people call it 5.6. It's 223. It's a heavy barrel, and this thing just drives nails. I mean, it'll shoot a pencil eraser size grape at 100 yards with 5 shots.
Incredible.
So I never believed an AR would do that until I started messing with them.
Mm-hmm.
My buddies kept saying, "Oh man, you need to get you one of the other things are smokers." I said, what you call a smoker and what I call a smoker is 2 different things. But I shot their rifle and I couldn't argue with them. I mean, the group tells the picture. I mean, put them all in the same hole. I'm going, dadgum, you know, I need to get one of those.
Right,
So
right.
I started fooling around with them, and I built a couple. And this is what they call you can't get this gun anymore. It was called a super sniper. It's got a special heavy barrel for it, match trigger, the chain, everything on the chamber, the bolts all been hand put together. Everything's like super precision. But I mean, to make a gun shoot like that, the gas rings all set up and everything right. It's a precision tool. That's what it does.
Sure, sure.
And you know how I like my guns to shoot.
Oh yeah.
You know, because you shot something. I built you a T-43 improved smoker.
Yeah, that one's a smoker and a half.
So that was the gun I had, and we're talking about this bullet. So that's not a very big bullet. That's a 22, high velocity, 3,200 feet a second, but still yet, it don't have a lot of energy. We're talking about hunting a coyote here, you know.
Right.
So it don't take a lot to kill a coyote. So that's what I had. So this is 2013. I go out there and I do my thing, you know, call in the morning and back to where we were at. So I come up to this evening stand. This is my last stand of the night. I said, okay, I might kill a big one here. So I get the DPMS out of the truck, and I always carry this with me. Usually when I'm on stand, I always carry that 45 because you never know if you're going to run into a mountain lion or not.
Right.
And if you get into it with a mountain lion, it's going to be close range. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be like right here. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So I like to have some firepower. I don't know if you saw the video on YouTube, the old boy shooting at that woman with a Glock.
Yes, I did.
It came back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It came back.
They lost their fear of man.
So you went out on this stand and you used a call you made, and that had
this is a special call I put together.
Now, had you used it prior to that?
No.
This is the first time you used it.
Yeah.
And now this call had, as you told me, 2 different frequencies that made it sound like what was in distress. Instead of a rabbit, typically, this would be a larger game animal.
Kind of like a deer or an antelope or something, you know. It was a little bit a larger type animal.
Okay.
So, you know, when you have a different sound, I mean, those animals, they kill for a living. So they know what's what. Mm-hmm. They know what a rabbit sounds like. They know what a deer sounds like. They know all these different sounds. And they got a recorder in their head. They know what it is.
Okay.
I've heard it all so much, too. I got one of mine, too. I remember how it all goes. But anyway, so I get out of the truck, get all my trappings together there, and I'm starting to walk down to the stand, and I look down on the ground, and I see these funny looking tracks, and as big as your hand, and it's got kind of a V behind it. I'm going, what in the hell is that? You know, looking at it, and you know how a truck rolls down the road, you know.
Yeah.
The grass grows in the middle. And it stepped over that mound, and you could see where it put its foot down.
Like that gopher mound?
Yeah, and it kind of like it went down like this and then come back up. So I thought, wow, you know, what is that? So
was it canine?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's canine. Okay.
You see the toenails. So I'll go another 100 yards and walk along there and see another one, same thing. So I'm looking around, I go, man, this is some clown trying to play a joke here. Right. I thought it was maybe one of these pumpers trying to jack with one of his buddies or something.
Oh.
So, you know, I said, I ain't never seen a track like that. So I get set up, and what I always do when I walk up to a mesa like that or look around, I always take my glasses and I survey the area. Because I can tell you how many times I walked up to a place like that and a coyote would be standing out there. Just standing there. Me and Genesis do it all the time. Walk up there, and there's one right there, you know.
Wow.
And that's what those guys used to say, you know, about me. They say I had a coyote slot machine. You know, drop a quarter in, boom, one come out of the ground, you know. So if you're with Dave, I think he's got places he drops quarters in the slot and they come up for you. You know. So I surveyed the area, there's nothing out there. So I sat down, get my shooting stick set up, get everything ready to go. I got everything situated, and I let the area kind of quiet down. So I started calling. And I'm on the call maybe 30 seconds, you know. I kind of looked around, didn't see anything. So I blow a little bit more. You know, going on to about a minute here, and I look way out there, and I seen something black, and it was just there, and then it was gone. We're talking about a mile away out there. I mean, it's way out in the sagebrush. I thought, well, it's a damn calf or something, you know. So I'm looking and get my glasses up there, and I can't see nothing. So I wait a little bit longer and seen it again. So, oh, it's a calf, you know. So I called a little bit more. Waited a minute, called a little bit more. This one now it's picked up speed. It's kind of, I can see it better. And what I can tell, the way it's moving, I think it's a bear. I said, man, I got a black bear.
The first time.
Yeah, first time. And what's it doing this far east out of the Rockies?
Right.
You know. And so how to get way out here without somebody smoking it or seeing it. So I think it's a bear. So it's coming in, you know. So didn't see anything for a few minutes. I thought, well, it's hung up. So I called again. And I look up now, I can see it. It's moving pretty good through the sagebrush. You can see it kind of loping this way, loping in there, you know.
It's kind of like a zigzag?
Yeah, I was going, you know, we're out there, you're talking about pretty good sized sagebrush.
Okay.
I mean, you've seen how the brush is. The whole riverbed just choked with it. And it's just a big dry wash that runs out through there. It's an old riverbed that runs through there, you know. And this thing's coming. And pretty soon it's getting to where now I can see it pretty good through the glasses. And I still think it's a bear, and I'm going, man, it's a weird looking bear. So it's about 500 yards now. It comes in there and it's kind of loping around. It kind of went around the edge of the canyon, disappeared in a low place, and comes up. So I let the glasses down. I get the gun ready. And I said, well, but I've got to shoot it, you know. So it breaks over that little rise. And that's when that's when I discovered it wasn't no bear, you know.
How far was it out?
It was about 400 yards.
400 yards, okay. And then
so it was probably, when it stopped, it was probably close to about 350 where it stopped. I measured it a couple times.
Okay.
And so that scope is 6 to 24 power. So I put it on 10. That's how we ranged things to see where it was. So I checked it. It was about between 300 and 400 yards. And I'm getting a little bit nervous. I can't hold the gun still. And I'm not, I don't shake. I don't get scared about nothing out there.
So you first saw it with the naked eye. Now you're looking through the scope.
Yeah. So I said, man, this is bull crap right here. So I crank it up to 24, and I'm looking at it. I can see the nose, and that's when I got, uh-oh, this is real. And this thing had a head on it like a, you know, I mean, it's a huge head. The ears went straight up about that long, like a government pincher. You know?
So they were pointed ears.
Yeah.
And you're saying that they were maybe...
Yeah, they're not like a regular dog. You could tell these are different type of ears.
And the head on it, you told me it had like a lion's mane to it, but it had like a... it was absolutely canine. It had a snout.
Had fangs.
Had fangs. You were looking at it at 24 power, which is the equivalent of me looking at you right now.
Yeah, you crank it up, you can see everything, you know.
And you were looking as far as you could from head down to where its feet were, but you couldn't see all of it because it was in the grass.
Right, it was standing in the dirt and everything, you know, it was kind of down.
So describe from head all the way down what you saw.
Well, this is when I got nervous. I mean, I thought, man, what is going on here? I thought, if I landed in another dimension or what? But this thing's got a big old head on it, you know. You can see it breathing. You see the tongue and everything breathing. 24 power, it's like being right there.
Right.
And I'm going, dadgum, man, this thing, what is this? You know, I thought some kind of a freak wolf is what I thought. It's some kind of a hybrid type wolf. And I said, this thing is a monster, you know. And if I got to shoot it, I don't think I got a big enough gun. I said, I don't think I can kill it because it's too bulky. I mean, it's just
massive. Yeah,
and the hands kind of hung out like this. It didn't look like hands; it looked like raccoon's feet.
Oh wow!
You know? So it's black. I mean, it's just black, and so it's looking around like this. It doesn't know where I'm at. It heard me, but I wasn't gonna make no more noise.
Yeah, right.
Know? So I had a 5-round magazine in that gun, and That's what I usually shoot coyotes with. You know, that's what you're supposed to carry. They want you to carry 5 rounds. I really don't carry too many more than that. You need more than that, you're going to war, you know. So,
right.
So I was nervous then, so I dropped that 5 round down. I keep a 20 round in my jacket just to hold my extra rounds in case I need to fill the magazine back up.
Okay.
I dropped that 5 round magazine, which now was one out of it, is one in the chamber, and put that 20 rounder in there and clipped it in. So it'll follow up, but you know, as soon as I fire the first shot. So 21 rounds, I thought. When he breaks 100 yards, I'm going to start laying the steel to him, you know. And I said, I just hope I can stay on target good enough to get in there and do some damage.
Right.
Yeah, but if this thing wanted to jump on you, I don't think there was a lot I could have done. You know, I didn't have the 45. I didn't take it with me. I usually carry a knife like this, which is something I tell guys now. We're going to talk about that in a second, but I tell guys, you need a knife that's got a long blade on it like that. This is like a scalpel. It's so sharp. I mean, you think about it, it'll cut you. You know, I mean, this thing is deadly. And I carry it because it would be very easy just to get it, once you get it in the animal, turn it sideways, and then you could do some damage with it. Serrated edge is going to cut vitals real easy. But if you're fighting a mountain lion or something like that, you need a knife like this.
Right.
You need something that'll do some damage. Just say, oh, you need this knife. No, you need a knife that whatever you touch is going to lay it open like right now, you know. And you want it to be like a scalpel. So our hunting situation's changed nowadays. There's stuff out there that'll do this, that can do stuff to you, and it's not going to be like it used to be no more. These people don't realize this. You know, I listen to them guys talk, well, that DOGMAN deal's not real. Well, bullshit. You want to go with me, and I'll call one in. You tell me it's not real when you see it. I'll give you the gun and you shoot it.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I appreciate about you is that we've known each other since about 2017. And, you know, we joke and kid, but every time I've asked you about this encounter story, and I've heard you on other podcasts, you've never changed a detail. You've always been very consistent with what you saw. And being as expert as you are in the predator field and calling and having this come in, you've seen everything over 38, up to that point, 38 years or whatever it was. And then you see this.
I've called everything out this time. I mean, I've called.
So you know what normal is, and then when abnormal comes in, you're like, what the hell is this?
I'll just put it to you like this. Nobody's ready for this. Nobody is. I don't care how big of a hunter you say you are or what you've done or been there, done this, done that. You might have faced a grizzly bear down. Well, you ain't faced one of these down. I mean, I ain't scared no grizzly bear if I got my right gun. I know how good I can shoot, and I perform pretty good under pressure. And but this thing here is a totally game changer. This is something else. And we've studied it now. You have too. I've studied the damn thing. It's an experimental creature. This thing was genetically built by scientists.
Yeah, that's our premise at this point, because the size, the sheer speed and strength and intelligence is just off the charts scary. When you had it on 24 power on your scope, and you said that you were sizing it up and you're looking, what did you estimate the height and the weight to be?
Well, the best I could tell by ranging it on the reticle there, you know, it was about 7 foot tall. And I'd say the way it was
on 2 legs.
Mm-hmm. And the way it was built, you know, it was kind of tapered the way it was built, and it was just, I mean, it's going to be 600-700 pounds. The upper body was massive.
600-700 pounds.
Yeah, it was massive. I just think whatever it was full grown. Had a big old bushy tail about this big around. I mean, this thing was just 6-inch pipe hanging out there.
So it came in on 4 legs, and then it stood up in that dry riverbed on 2 legs, and that's when you were like, "What going on?"
And then so it didn't locate me. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it smelled me. something told it, hey, this is not a good deal. I need to vacate the premises. So it jumped up, just took a step up on this little nice time. When it did that, it was like somebody said, afterburner, gone, man. I couldn't keep it hardly in the scope. I mean, it was running on 2 feet like this. It got to that
Wait a
fence.
minute, you just said it ran away on 2 feet.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So
it's just perfectly balanced.
Perfectly balanced. Like it wasn't like a man would move his legs really fast. This one was just.
It was one of these deals, you know. Like this, you could tell every time it took a step, it was. But when it got to that fence, it went down on 4, and so it kind of jumped like this over.
Oh.
And then jumped over and then back on 2. And when I seen it go outside over to across the road.
So it crossed from when it jumped up
Where I showed you it came in, yeah.
When it finally took off on 2, it crossed what distance? And you've got about 2 5-strand barbed wire fences you said it had to clear?
Yeah, from where we saw it, where I showed you and Larry where it was at one time there, where it was standing to that fence out there, it's about another 350. You know, from there to there.
And
it covered that area in just 1, 2, 3, 4, and it was done, you know.
So it in no time, like within about 6 or 7 seconds?
Less than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Less than that. And the time limit it took me, what I did was I swung on him, you know, he took off, and I had the gun was on 24, so I bumped it back to 10 power and swung on him, and I was trying to trap him in the scope. And I had to swing way past him just as I got there, and when I would wait, the time I was waiting, he was already in the scope again.
Oh, my gosh.
So you're trying to hit something like that, you're talking about a running lead of 10 feet. You know, you'd have to go boom and shoot and hope to hit him.
So compared to the coyotes, you know, and like you said, every coyote has another gear. How fast was this compared to a coyote?
Well, coyotes can run flat out at 40 miles an hour. You know, so it was probably every bit that faster. You know, and you're talking about a coyote with a smaller target running, you know.
Yeah.
Now, shooting them running like I have, I mean, they can stretch out there, boy. I mean, they can
really get it.
They can get it, yeah. And especially when you're shooting at them. I mean, I guarantee you they can get so low to the ground, it look like a piece of notebook floating along there. I've seen them. Every time they got one more gear every time you fire that gun. And
so when it was running, and then you said it would kind of go down to all fours to leap over the fence, and I'm sure it didn't miss a beat. It just kept going, and then it'd go back up on 2 legs and run again.
Yeah.
When it was running, did it move its upper body with its arms like a man, like a human?
Well, it was just kind of like this. It wasn't. It didn't do this. It just kind of had its hands out like that. You know, kind of like it was using them for a counterbalance up here.
How was the tail?
It was just bushy like a coyote, you know, come out there and...
Did it stay still?
Kind of tapered. Well, I mean, I guess it was kind of... Can't really tell. I was too busy trying to...
Yeah.
The best I could tell, it was just floating along there behind it like a coyote's tail does, you know.
Wow, 600 to 700 pounds, and this thing moving as fast as a coyote, if not faster.
Well, you got to figure well, we went out there, and then I showed you the same area where we were.
Yeah.
And we saw those tracks.
Yeah, yeah.
And you tracked that one, so how, you know, it put its foot down, so it was pretty heavy, whatever made that track.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's walking a long stride, and then you got all the coyote tracks around the middle of it.
True.
So yeah. And people said they seen them running with them.
Get back to the description. So it's got like Doberman pincher ears, maybe 8 to 10 inches tall, pointed. It's got a kind of a mane, like a lion's mane. It's just real bushy. The head is huge. Go to and it's all black. What color are its eyes?
On the side, you mean?
Its eyes? Oh,
they were yellow, man. They're like that can right there.
Really?
Just about the same color as that can.
Wow.
Yeah. And guys I've talked to said they seen the same thing. The eyes were the same yellow, you know.
Wow.
But that's what Steve said. The one he saw had yellow eyes too.
Yeah. So it had a dog or a canine snout. How about tell me about the how it looked in the face and everything. Now I know I've asked you this a million times because I always want to hear, but I kept asking you early on when we became friends, I interviewed you, and you just said, listen, all you have to do is watch that movie, Van Helsing. And you said, take one of those werewolves, paint it black, and that's what I saw.
Yeah.
Did you still hold to that?
Yeah, that's what it was. I mean, I know they said they'd seen other colored ones, but the one I seen was black. And I told you about Patrick, the guy that worked with me over at the shop.
Yes, yes.
The one he saw was black too.
So
and they say there's brindle colored ones. There's ones that look like, they even got one now seen that they've named it, let's see, what did that guy call it? They just call it the Coyote Dogman. It's like a coyote, but it's a Coyote Dogman. So what does that say? Are these things in there breeding?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I've heard reports now, and I've seen some actual bodies of over 100-pound coyotes.
That's big.
Well, okay, so if these coyotes are getting mated with these things, the DNA's crossing over, and that's what you got. So these things are breeding. They're a breeding population because they didn't just make one and that was it. They're all over the United States nowadays. And I know there's guys out there that I see them every day. They're the biggest, baddest guys there is. Nothing can stop me. You know, I'm Rambo, I'm this, I'm that. Well, I don't care unless you got a minigun. And you're by yourself. You better put steel on target and get something done quick, because if you don't, you're gonna be lunch. I mean, you might kill it, but it'll probably kill you too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would not go by myself. I used to be the king of doing that. I'd go all the time by myself and do whatever I wanted to do. But anymore, you need 2 guns is better than 1.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And I want somebody with me that can shoot.
Well, I thought I was a good shooter, but you really taught me a lot. And I've been shooting since I was a little kid. But, you know, I enjoy learning, and I feel like you're the best I've seen. And everything that you've always told me that you could do, you've done it. I mean, you could take it to the bank. And, well, I appreciate you, Dave, and sitting down to go over this encounter that happened in 2013, and look forward and seeing what we can see here in the coming years.
All right, guys, I wanted to follow up with a brief summary here of Wiley Dave's sit-down interview of the DOGMAN encounter he had in Western Oklahoma in 2013. I want to know in the comments just what you guys thought overall. I appreciated, first of all, of Dave's doing this sit-down interview. He works many, many hours, and this was the second sit-down interview. The first interview, I had some brand new mics, cordless mics, and they put a buzzing or humming noise that was very obnoxious. So this was the second sit-down interview with Wiley Dave, and he was kind enough, and his wife Julie was too, to do this with me again before this big snowstorm came in. So anyway, in the comments, let me know, what do you think about what Wiley Dave saw? He, he was by himself, and as you heard, he said, "I'll never go by myself again. That's foolish." And, he made another good point, is that I think when people talk about these dogmen, you've got some people that want to act all brave and, I'm going to take it on, and however many show up or whatever. And that just tells me they've never seen one before. Because when I've done interviews before, and when people see these creatures, man, woman, it doesn't matter. I don't care if they've been in military, it doesn't matter. It's very, very terrifying. And these people give up going out into the woods again. If they were a hunter, it takes a while for them to get back into hunting, if even at all getting back to hunting, or getting back going by themselves, just running in a park. And I'm not exaggerating when you really find these people and they've had a relatively close encounter or an encounter, it changes their life. And I don't think people understand really the level of emotion, anxiety, and post-traumatic disorder that can be involved with these creature encounters. And that's kind of one of my areas that I really tend to gravitate to, is to help these people that they are not alone. And you don't have to be a big bad dude or dudette, if you will. It's not about that. It's about just keeping your smarts. And, I think these creatures could, and in many cases have, imposed some aggression to humans. And that gets into, another show that you'll see soon, is with these silencers, these MIBs. They have a high affinity in trying to keep quiet this DOGMAN creature. And I think for a number of reasons. And you heard, what do you think about what Wiley said about these creatures are man-made? The more that I thought about this and thought about this and thought about this, I'm of the same lines too as Wiley Dave. I think that there is some level of human involvement that has reproduced these creatures. To what level, I'm not sure. I do know, again, that these silencers are extremely interested in these creatures when there's an encounter or a sighting. They're like Johnny on the spot to the eyewitnesses or in the area. Another thing, what did you think about the size that Wiley Dave said? He's been on several podcast shows before ours and then even after. And one of the things is that, he said it was around 7 to 7.5 feet tall standing and 600 to 700 pounds. That's huge. That's huge. In Oklahoma, if you have a predator like a mountain lion, a male, the most I've ever heard of is somewhere around 225, maybe 230 pounds. That's big. That's big. So a 600 to 700 pound, that's the size of a pony. That's huge. That's huge, folks. So I can't imagine the fear that Wiley Dave, he said he was shaking. He said he noticed his hand. He was just shaking, and he was out there. And here's a guy that's harvested thousands of coyotes and predators, bobcats and mountain lions for farmers over the years. That's what he was hired to do. And so to be frightened like that for the first time, he really had to see something he didn't understand, that he's never seen before. And like he said, he didn't have enough gun. And what he meant by that is that the size of the gun he had and the ammo was nothing compared to the size of this creature. He needed a much larger gun with a higher load, more of an impact. And 223 just doesn't cut the mustard. It's okay for coyotes because your average coyote is somewhere around 30 to 35 pounds on average. So let me know what you thought about that. And of course, Wiley's background, just to add on that, his background, he's been hunting coyotes and been out in the woods and the prairies and the grasslands and the mountains for years, decades. So here's a guy that knows what creatures look like, what indigenous wildlife looks like in the area. He's been in Oklahoma, Arizona, Utah. He's hunted all in the states in the Midwest, so he's seen it. If it's a predator and it's been out there, I'm sure he's harvested it, taken it out, helped farmers out. At some point in time or another, that's what he was getting paid to do, is work for ranchers and farmers to protect their livestock. Because you get a group of coyotes and they're hungry, they'll take out all the calves and they'll kill horses. It's hard to do it full-grown horses, but you're talking little colts, foals. You talk about calves, goats, sheep. It doesn't matter. So I thought that was very intriguing from someone that knows what animals look like, and this was something he'd never seen before. He got real shook up when he converted that 10 power to 24 power on his rifle. So let me know what you think about that too, what you thought about that. Outside of that, we do go still in different parts of Oklahoma. There's a place that we go not or just outside of Tulsa, but we still go to that area in Western Oklahoma. And as I showed at the beginning of this show and even during Wiley's interview, I took some drone footage of when we went out there one time at the exact spot, what Dave calls a stand. A stand is a place that you set up to do your predator calling. That's what Dave calls a stand. So that is the exact location where he had this encounter. It wasn't a close encounter, but in some respects you could call it that. Even though it was out about 350 yards to 400 with that 24 power scope, that firearm you saw in the interview, I mean, it puts you like right there, like you're looking at me right now. You can see all the details, everything. It was black with like this brightly colored yellow eyes. He said the ears were about 8 to 10 inches in height, and they were pointed like a Doberman pinscher, which is very interesting. Dobermans, they have to dock the ears, but this creature, he said it had pointy ears. It had like a real bushy mane on it, kind of exaggerated, and that the rest of it had hair, but it wasn't as bushy as around the head. Bushy tail, skinny waist, real jacked up, muscly up in the front, the chest area, and it just kind of hung its arms out just a little bit as it was standing. And the creepy thing is it came in on 4 legs and then stood up on 2, walked around very comfortably, and yet left immediately, probably when it caught his scent, left on 2 legs, running. Obviously, it felt very comfortable to do that. And typical dogs, domesticated dogs, and even indigenous wildlife, wolves, coyotes, bobcat, mountain lion, they don't do that. That's not natural. That's not natural. So leave some comments below. I thought a few of those things were quite interesting, what he talked about. He saw prints. Obviously, it had been in that area, moving around, because he noted there were some prints when he got out of the truck, and he thought somebody was trying to play a joke on him. And so it was around this pump jack area. And so he noted that there was something already strange about the area before he called it in, but it was way out there when it came in. He said he saw it out about a mile. So I thought that was interesting. And in that country, as you can see from the aerial, the drone shots, it is kind of during the wintertime, it's very gray, brown terrain, the topography, and the foliage. So with anything like black, it just will stick out like a sore thumb. So very, very interesting there. We still go back and we still try to call one in, because it is my mission to get 4K video of these creatures. And you guys will be the first to see it. I promise you that. I promise you that. So leave any comments down below what you thought of the show. I'm trying to get out more shows like this. I have some interviews set up already. I have about 3 or 4 set up. I've got to travel outside of Oklahoma to get them done for you guys. And then every once in a while, I'll sprinkle in some interviews that people call into the show, as well as some just shows that I've created out of the blue. But if anyone out there has had an encounter, or you know someone that needs to share and would like to share, I'm all ears. I keep your name, your occupation confidential. That's my policy. And if you want to disclose the location, that's up to you. And if you don't, that's still up to you. I abide by your wishes. And if you wish to call anytime, you can call the toll-free number 1-866-306-8085. That's 24/7, 365, and I will answer it, and you can speak to just me. In the meantime, guys, I appreciate you so much. Again, leave some comments down below, And until next time, always remember, we're never alone when in the wilderness.